Good morning, beautiful. In part 2 of my series on the Nikon Z-Series firmware update, we're going to take a look at the results of the eye detection autofocus. Larry here with Southern Exposure, information and inspiration for the amateur photographer, where I share lessons, tips, and personal stories of my photography journey. So please subscribe to my channel and ring that notification bell so you don't miss anything. Today, we're going to dive into the eye detect autofocus in the new firmware update for the Nikon Z6, and I'm pretty excited about it. I recently updated the firmware in my Nikon Z6 to version 2, which includes eye detect autofocus. It also includes improved low light autofocus abilities and auto exposure between each frame in continuous high extended mode. Previously, shooting in high extended mode, it grabbed the exposure on the first frame and then held it throughout the series. Now it will readjust the auto exposure between each frame. But this video is going to focus primarily on the eye detect autofocus because, let's face it, that's the feature everybody's most interested in. Now, I don't have a Sony or a Canon camera, so this is not going to be a comparison review because I don't have anything to compare it to. But on the plus side, I'm not sponsored by anybody. I'm not a Nikon partner. They didn't send me this camera for free. I've paid for this with my own money, so I've got no stake in whether this review turns out good or bad. Hopefully it'll turn out good because that means that I bought the right camera. let's open up Lightroom and take a look at some of the files that we got. These are all straight out of camera. I've not done any edits to these. As you probably saw, I just kind of set up a quick little portrait setup in my living room. Very basic, just to get some exposures. This was really more about seeing how well the eye detection worked and whether or not it was actually catching focus. But right now we're just gonna kind of go through these and take a look at the focus and see how it worked. All of these were shot with the Nikon 24-70S lens, the native lens for the Z cameras. They were all shot at f4. That's the widest aperture that that lens has. I have the f4 version. So some of these, particularly when we get into the ones with the glasses, it's a little hard for me to determine whether or not it grabbed focus on the eye or the glasses. The depth of field wasn't quite shallow enough to make a determination. On this particular shot, in general, if I had to guess, I would say I think it probably did catch focus on the eye, not the glasses. The eye looks to be a little sharper. The eyelashes look to be a little sharper than the rim of the glasses, but it's a little hard to tell for sure. But I would say I was fairly impressed just that it picked up the eye, even though she was wearing her glasses for the second part of the shoot. So let's kind of go back and just sort of go through some of these shots and take a look at the eyes and see if it looks like they're in focus, and I believe they are. These shots, again, you know, forgive the exposure and the fact that these haven't been processed, but it's looking to me like the eyes are sharp on pretty much all of these shots. That one looks like it may have missed a little bit, but still I think that's what I would consider usable. Let's just kind of tab through some of these and see what we've got. Again, the eyes are in focus. I don't think there's really any shots here that missed focus. So not only was it tracking the eye effectively, there were a couple of places where it did lose the eye, went back to face detection, but for the most part, it stayed on the eye and tracked the eye even while she was moving. And again, as I'm going through these, I'm not seeing any shots where it missed focus. One thing to keep in mind is that I was locked off on a tripod. I unfortunately don't have the ability to record the camera screen, so the only way that I could show you what was going on with the autofocus points was to set up another camera. I set up my D3400 behind the Z6 and used it to record the screen so that you could see what was going on with the focus points. But yeah, these all look like they're in focus. It looks like it grabbed focus on all this. Okay, here's one where it may not be. It looks like the focus is more on her hair than on her eye. So that one we might call a miss, but that's the first one that I've come across that I've really noticed that on. So that's still a pretty good hit rate if you ask me. That one might be off a little bit. Well, no, once the file loaded, looks to me like that eye is in focus. So I have to say, I'm very impressed with the eye detection autofocus in this firmware update. It was easy to use. It saved me the hassle of moving the focus point around with the joystick, and aside from just having a very basic background and lighting setup, it did produce some really nice results as far as grabbing and acquiring focus and acquiring focus in the right spot. Let's scroll on down and take a look at some more of these with the glasses. There's a nice one. The eye is definitely in focus there. And now we've got the glasses, and I was particularly interested in seeing how it performed with someone wearing glasses. And it looks like it did a really good job. I'm very impressed with this. The eyelashes, the iris, the catch light in the eye is perfectly in focus. Again, it looks like the frame, the rim of the glasses is also in focus, and that has to do with the aperture of f4. I might have to put my 50mm 1.8 on and try and get some close-up shots with a very shallow depth of field, but just the fact that I would have to do that to figure out whether or not it actually caught focus on the eye or the glasses, which is only a centimeter or two apart, that is pretty impressive in terms of the autofocus capabilities. Again, I don't have a Sony or a Canon to compare it to. I understand the Sony's autofocus is amazing, and they of course have had eye detect autofocus for quite a while now, and it apparently works really well, but I am not disappointed at all in what this Z6 was able to produce with these shots. After having a chance to play around with the eye detect autofocus in the Nikon Z6, I'm pretty impressed with it. Now, if you're a serious portrait photographer working in a studio, this may not be that important to you. But for grabbing some candid shots out in the field, I think it works great. Especially taking pictures of your family, your wife, your kids, whatever. It just makes it a lot easier to find and grab focus where you need it. This is definitely a lot easier than using the control pad or the joystick to move the single focus point around the screen, try and catch the eye or the face, grab focus and then take your picture. It eliminates all of that work. While it may miss sometimes, the times that it hits are definitely worth it. Overall, I'd have to say I'm pretty impressed with the eye detect autofocus on the Nikon Z6. Now, we'll see how it performs over time, but I've got to say this is a pretty impressive feature. As a guy who's been shooting pictures for a long time, starting off shooting 35mm film, manual focus, manual cameras, the advancements that have been made in cameras and technology are just amazing. This would be unheard of even 10 years ago. It's a neat feature, it's fun to use, and for now, I'm gonna go out, take pictures, and have fun doing it. Thanks.